Okay, paper 2, writing. Okay, so here are the 6 things you might get in the exam. It's an hour-long exam. Okay, you'll get 2 of these to do in an hour, and it is random. So you might get a letter and a review, or an article or a report. But you've got an hour. They're both worth 20 marks, so you need to spend about 25 minutes on writing it, and then a 10 minutes to proofread. If I was you, I would try and do a minimum of 2 pages per thing, so 4 pages minimum. Okay, from a SPAG point of view, this is stuff that you need to make sure to get a grade 4, minimum grade 4, you need this. If you're going for grade 6 or 7, you definitely need these as well. So this is simple punctuation the examiner will check. If you don't do this stuff correctly, you are going to struggle to get a grade 4 and above. So full stop and less commas. So what I mean by that is that a lot of the writing where I've marked, we've got maybe 2 sentences in a paragraph, but they're huge sentences. If you're writing on a piece of A4 and you've got a sentence that goes on for 4 lines with no full stop, that's probably wrong, okay? Don't just shove in a comma. The main reasons why I would say use a comma for if you're using a sentence starter, so for example, firstly, comma, or if you're doing a list, so I went to the shop and I bought bread, comma, eggs, comma, yeah? So if you, every couple of lines try and have a full stop. Apostrophe, so you must check them. Paragraphs, okay? They like deep paragraphs. So in this exam, I would always have my intro and conclusion can be maybe 2 sentences, but my main paragraphs, try to make them 5 to 8 sentences. Check your there, and there. Capital letters, spellings, okay? Obviously, you're not going to spell every word correctly, but I would say at this stage now, if you use a word and you're not 100% sure it's correct, if you think, oh, that might be wrong, don't use it. It's much better to use a less ambitious word and spell it right than keep spelling ambitious words wrong. Okay, so when you're doing any article, letter, article, review, whatever, you must know what you're going to discuss before you start writing. So do a little plan, don't ramble. So we're going to go through a few tips for the exam. Tip 1 is my 5 bullet point structure. So what I mean by this is that this is going to be your structure for each exam. Okay, you're going to do an intro and a conclusion and 3 main separate points. Okay, 1 point per paragraph, do not put lots of big chunks. So say for example, we go back to here, say if I was doing a letter complaining about a bad hotel, I'm not going to put loads of reasons in 1 paragraph. I'm going to do my intro and conclusion, then maybe do 8 sentences on the staff are rude, 8 sentences on the food was horrible, and 8 sentences on there was no, the room was messy. So yeah, each point I'm making, a different paragraph. Okay, so this is what we don't want, just 1 big chunk or 2 big chunks. We want this, yeah? So separate it into nice paragraphs, yeah, like that. Okay, and try not to have huge sentences like I just said. If you have one that's 4 or 5 lines, you need to put a full stop into it. So if we're doing paragraphs, what we don't want is just 3 big sentences like this. We would want a mixture of 7 or 8 short and medium and longer sentences. Okay, so if you were doing a question, imagine your friend or relative is considering going to live abroad, write a letter. Here is my plan. So I've got my intro, which is 2 sentences, 2, 3 and 4, 5 to 8 sentences, conclusion. So what you do at your top of your page is you would write this at your top of your answer page. Yeah, I'm gonna have my intro is going to say that traveling is great, but I'm not going to go into reasons why. I'm just going to say to my friend, yeah, you should travel. Then I'm going to do 5 to 8 sentences on it will be an adventure, 5 to 8 sentences on it you can meet new people, and 5 to 8 sentences you are bored of the UK. Okay, and then I'm going to do a couple of sentences on saying goodbye to my friend and telling him to book his ticket. So see how I've put 3 separate paragraphs, 3 separate points. Okay, if the question was about writing a film review, I will do my plan at the top of my page. I'm going to decide to do Black Panther. I'm going to do 1 paragraph on the actors, 1 paragraph on the music, 1 paragraph on the special effects, and then I've got my 2 sentences saying it's an amazing film, go and watch it. If I was doing a speech on should there be a smoking ban, my first paragraph, which is 2 sentences, is going to be you should ban smoking. But again, in my intro, I'm not saying why, I'm just giving my outline and my view. Then I'm going to do 5 to 8 sentences on health, the smell, and smoking is bad if you're eating, and then a little 2-sentence conclusion. Tip 2 is to show off to the examiner. So if you don't know what these things are, go and revise them. So at school you might have done a forest, a deforest. I would say from my point of view these are the 4 main ones, so I would be trying to use these. Not every single line, but if you used a rhetorical question maybe twice and a statistic twice in your 2 pages, that would look pretty good. Okay, and if you want to pause the video and have a look at mine, then feel free. Tip 3, write a great intro. I think once people get going in the exam, they tend to be okay, but if you get stumped right at the start, you could struggle. So using that same question about your friend or relatives going to live abroad or you're writing a letter, I would always use the first sentence in my intro from the exam question. So I've put, "Dear Joe, I've been told you're considering going to live abroad. In this letter, I'm going to tell you why this is a fantastic idea." So I'm using the exam question in my first sentence. That's what the exam question is there for. So that's my first tip in the intro, use the exam question. Okay, and my second tip is, in the start of your second sentence, use "in this letter" speech review. So I've put, "In this letter, I'm going to tell you why it is a fantastic idea." Remember, in your intro, it's only 2 sentences. You're giving your main argument, but you're not saying why. So I'm not saying why he should go abroad. I'm just saying that he should. If I was doing the letter about the hotel that I'm making a complaint, I'm just saying I'm making a complaint. I'm not going to give my reasons in the intro. Okay, tip 4, really easy way to gain a few marks is to use sentence starters. So things like firstly, secondly, thirdly, finally, however. Remember, you need a comma after them. If you don't want to do it all the way through, I'd certainly do it at the start of each paragraph the examiner will like that, and that's probably quite a cheap way of making a few grades. Okay, so let's very quickly go each one. I'm not going to go over all of them, so if you want to pause and look at the structure, you do that yourselves. So there's the letter, so pause each one if you want to. So remember with the letter, "Dear Sir or Madam" is faithfully, "Dear Mrs. Smith" is yours sincerely. Like every text, you're trying to get the reader to agree with you. Use sentence starters, use dress, check your there, and capital letters on addresses. Okay, like I say, you need to pause each one if you're going to stop. Okay, so in the speech, say hello and what you're going to talk about. Use direct address throughout. Try to persuade the reader to agree with you. Use sentence starters, dress, rhetorical questions, check your there, and there. So in the review, give a star rating, create a catchy title and subheading. So if you were doing the Fast and the Furious, your title could be the Fantastic Fast and the Furious. Use ambitious adjectives, so you're going to get more marks for saying something as fascinating as opposed to good, or appalling as opposed to bad. Use interesting sentence starters, dress, and check your there, and there. Okay, in an article, create a catchy title and subheadings. Use interesting sentence starters, use dress, and check your there, and there. In a report, slightly different. In a report, okay, you must keep it formal and businesslike. You try to persuade the reader to agree with you. Use statistics. Okay, remember, a report is basically, so for example, the principal of the college might ask you for a report saying how the college could be improved. So come up with 3 reasons how the college could be improved. So you could talk about the catering and then say how you're going to solve it. Okay, leaflet, pretty similar to an article. Write the same way as an article. It may be called a guide in the exam. So if it says write a guide, don't stress it just means write an article. A leaflet, title and catchy subheadings. Use dress. Do not draw any pictures or fold your exam paper for a leaflet. Okay, proofreading wise, we already spoke at the beginning the things you've got to look out for. So just remember, it's your there, and there. Okay, if you want to look at any revision activities, go to bpcenglish.wordpress.com. There's a few little worksheets, or just go to Google and just type in there, and there worksheet. There's loads of online stuff you could do. Same with capital letters. These are the reasons why you need a capital letter. Okay, again, check your apostrophes. If you're not sure, go on Google, just do an online apostrophe quiz. Yeah, and do some revision on that. Okay, so things to remember for the exam then. Massive thing, finish all questions. Okay, it doesn't matter if you have to do 7 quotes on the question, you've only done 1. You move on, you keep your timings. Remember, 10-mark question for the reading, 7 to 10 minutes. If it's a small mark question, 2 or 3 minutes. And for the writing, you've got about 25 minutes for each. You need to write 2 pages each for each writing question. Check your there, and there, caps and apostrophes. Keep sentences short and 3 lines on the page of A4. Do your plans at the top of the exam. Do lots of short PEs in the reading exam. So we want 7 to 10 PEs as opposed to 1 big PE. Do lots of quotes, and when your time is up on a question, move on. Okay, I hope that has been some use to you, and good luck in your exams.